Bryan Kobel is the CEO of BioPharm Holdings. He's becoming one of my favorite people. I get to talk to him off the air because we're talking about a number of things with him. TCBP is the stock symbol. They are a lead product for platform therapeutic in multiple diseases. He's back today. I want him to come into town. He's stuck, I believe, with the stinky Europeans for a while. Bryan, aren't you overseas for a while? And this is what, 1 a.m. from where you are?
Yeah, roughly. I'm in London right now, feeling like I want to Yamo burn this place down since we were talking.
Yamo burn. All right, hey, Bryan. Speaking of London, how was breakfast?
Oh, he was.
Oh my God.
I've given up on breakfast in the UK entirely. It's just straight coffee at this point.
Brian's just there for the month to visit a couple dentist appointments there in London. Hey, listen, can we talk about what we talked about last time, because it was significant with respect to the response we got. Let's talk about TCB008, because this is a pretty significant breakthrough here, and I think this is going to give us some hope here in terms of what you guys are solving. Talk about that.
Yeah, you know, the drug is actually fantastic, the therapeutic. So effectively what we're doing is taking donor blood, isolating this gamma delta T cell, expanding it into the hundreds of millions, and then injecting and infusing it into patients in acute myeloid leukemia. But the way the drug operates and its mechanism of action makes it really a platform therapeutic where it's reacting to sick and diseased cells through isopentenyl pyrophosphate, or IPP. So we believe, as a real therapeutic, sort of an everyday process or delivery here is going to be around immune suppressed, immune compromised patients. So everybody who gets chemo should be getting gamma deltas, TCB008. Everybody who's suffering some type of a breakdown of fungal, whether open to fungal infections or open to viral infections, we believe should be getting TCB008 to boost the immune system, while it's also having an anti-tumoral effect, which we saw in our phase 1B. So it's a really exciting product. We think it's got a number of applications here. Obviously not a panacea, but we do see it being really, really impactful globally here, and also in combination with a number of other things in standard of care. Interestingly enough, we actually just got word from the MHRA, which is the UK governing body like the FDA, that we are now moving forward in our phase 2B, and we've increased the dose level. So, effectively what that means is the DSMB looked at our data, saw the safety levels here, meaning the low toxicity and no toxicity, and in conjunction with our investigators agreed that we should increase our dosing in patients right now. So we're seeing this kind of happen in real time, and it's incredible, honestly.
Hey, but Bryan, MHRA, that's a big step. I don't want that to go over anybody's head, because and how's that scotch and soda there, big fella? Let me ask you.
I wish it was scotch.
Mike, can I stop down for a second? Also, when he's talking about fungal infection, how's the herpetic lesion? You okay?
It's almost healed.
Okay, good. My question for you, though, is this is not something that should be taken lightly. MHRA is a big, big step in terms of global medical research. This is an on-ramp to the U.S. FDA, top-line phase 2 and maybe phase 3. This is future so bright, got to wear shades type stuff. This can't be understated.
100%. It's really doing two things for us, right? What we did for the dosing level was increase it to the medium dose level in our US trial. So we believe that we can go back to the FDA with data here at that dose level and expedite our phase 1 trial in the US, and moving quickly to that medium dose level once we show them the safety data with these patients. Additionally, we went from an inpatient procedure, meaning you have to be in the hospital overnight to get our treatment, to an outpatient procedure. So now these patients come in, rather than having to be stuck overnight, locked in a room, they get the shot, the infusion, they sit there for a little bit, and then they walk out and go home, which tells you something about where this could go potentially when you start talking about the global market.
Bryan, when you talk about efficacy and safety, when you get that kind of nod from MHRA, does that make it easier to do compassionate care in the U.S. As an on-ramp?
So it's an interesting question. We believe that this data will allow us to go back to the FDA with a whole range of applications here, and we're actually already sort of putting ourselves in position there. We have a couple calls over the next couple of weeks with groups that might be able to help us access compassionate care use in a couple of different applications. Obviously, we're still waiting on proof of concept in Candida and Aspergillus, both of which our current unmet medical needs in the U.S. So that's an area we could quickly expand the platform, we hope, with this data.
Hey, Bryan, with respect to what you're concentrating on next, talk about the next 6 months and so much as a CEO of a public company you can. Does it come down to continuing to concentrate on what you're accomplishing where you're at now, or do we start focusing 100% on maybe a JAMA publication or something to get the U.S. to kind of open their eyes to phase 2, phase 3, and eventually approval?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Obviously, the clear and present is focusing on TCB 008 in the AML trial, which we will then, move ourselves into publication in Nature or JAMA, something along those lines. Try and get ourselves maybe into ASH as well.
Sure.
At the end of the year. Obviously, we believe that antifungal application is really important. So we're looking at things like a basket trial in immune-suppressed, immune-compromised patients, where we would dose 20, 30 patients in various fungal infections at their immune-suppressed, immune-compromised levels, try and get a lot of data there. And I think one of the things that I'm watching in just cell therapy, which obviously has applications to us, is this idea that people are starting to roll up and acquire
Sure.
cell therapy companies.
Well, that was my question. I mean, what's the exit strategy? Do you take this in a risk aversion model to where you get acquired by a bigger company like you're talking about, or do you take it to the young men and women that are pulling suitcases in the doctor's offices, or do you take this to the 1 yard line, or what have you guys thought about that, or is it catch can when it comes after approval?
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at CymaBay, right? They were trading below $1.50,
Yeah.
$1.60,
Yeah.
in 2019, bought for $4 billion and 30 something dollars a share.
They were worth $70 million, $70 million, and sold for what, $2.6 billion. Wow. I mean, honestly,
wild.
like it was a 30 multiple. I mean, if you held $100,000 worth of stock, you had $20 million the next day. It was amazing.
It's crazy.
But hence the biopharma space, right? I mean, it's
biotech. Exactly. So look, I think that we are that over the course of the next, period of time, not obviously tomorrow, I think we're an acquisition candidate. And I think when you look at what's happening in cell therapy, and a lot of things that, some things are flying under the radar, even for us, like Regeneron bought or is acquiring 2seventy Bio, TBST. And people forget that we signed a partnership with Bluebird Bio, which they then spun over to 2seventy Bio.
Keep in mind, last year was horrible for you guys. 2023 was horrible for biopharma and biotech. All of the research from analysts had to reprice at the end of the year. There was no capital available for the first 2 months this year for biopharma, and now they're coming through the woodwork, including new. I'm not going to say private equity, but new acquisition players in the marketplace. So. Future's pretty good. Bryan, when you get back to the States, we'd love to have you come in the studio. You are one of our favorite guests. His name is Bryan Kobel, or as Greg calls it, Kobel, CEO of a company called TC BioPharm Holdings, TCBP. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you coming on here. This makes me feel better about the state of my health.